Hello everybody. I hope everybody have joined. So I'm Vijay from the YouTube channel known as Gardener the Young. I'm so happy to do this workshop as I'm just 16 years old, but I'm very happy and feel proud to do this. And I'm, I'm feeling very honored to share my experiences about gardening with you through this workshop with the Affordable Organic Store. So let me start by saying a small story like how I entered into gardening and how I began YouTubing. So in third standard, usually for children, they used to give germination projects in school. So that project only facilitated me into gardening. I was amazed by seeing those seeds sprouting. I just took some seeds from soil from road and I just added some fenugreek and watered it. It sprouted and I was amazed how it will grow. But it didn't grow actually for the first time. It didn't grow into a beautiful big plant. It died when it was a seedling itself. So I was thinking why it is not growing, and I searched online and I asked my friends, neighbors, parents, etc. And I then only knew that plants will require a lot of soil to grow. Their roots need space to grow. I just sowed many seeds together, close together. They didn't grow. Then I got some soil from the nearby nursery and I grew some seeds like tomato, chilies, the seeds available at home. I started with those kind of seeds, and what happened was they grew into a large plant, and I started to know about plants at that time. And I researched a lot about plants through internet. Throughout the internet, I learned about many methods of farming and agriculture, what kind of nutrition plants need, etc. So I learned a lot about those things as well. Then I started YouTubing after I learned gardening. It was about 3 years I learned gardening fully to learn gardening, but there are many more processes of uh, farming. So even I cannot say I know everything about gardening. There are a lot of things to learn. So just we are just we will be learning a handful of things, but whereas there are many things to learn about the size of seeds. So we should always think like that and we should move on. And I started YouTube to share how I'm growing plants and to share how to grow plants so that others will also be aware of growing them. And there are many benefits of growing plants. So I share about those things in on YouTube so that people will also get into gardening. So social media is a great platform for sharing your experiences that would make many people also learn about gardening. And I would also like to say about this affordable organic store, which I am buying products from them for about a year or so. And the seeds from them are really cheap, as the name uh, as the name says, it is so affordable. So I love the variety of seeds they have. They have everything like vegetables, fruits. They have flower seeds as well, herbs. Rare herbs are also there on the store. So I liked it so much. And they were only starting from 10 rupees. So that's the best part of it. and they have everything to start a garden, like soil mix, vermicompost, everything. So I like that thing. So let's start with the presentation. First, let me say why we need to start gardening. Gardening is really a beautiful art which we all should learn. It will make us connect with nature. So I loved gardening so much. And we can get many organic fruits, vegetables, herbs, everything from our own kitchen garden or terrace garden, whatever it is, or even a backyard. If you have a small backyard, you can just grow anything in there. Find very strawberries throughout the year, or there are many plants which can't be found every time. So those kind of plants can be grown in your own garden, and you can harvest them, and it would come in a really cheap price for you to grow in home. And there's one more best thing to start a garden, that is, it is like a remedy. If you are feeling stressful, the garden is a place where you can feel relieved. The greenery will make you peaceful, so you should surely start a garden, and this is also good for the environment. So now let's see how to start a garden. For starting a garden, you need not buy a lot of things. Like, you should not invest a lot in the beginning, because you are going to experiment yourself in gardening for the first time. You will not be able to grow everything in the first attempt. You have to get some experience. Each and every time there will be new diseases, new insects coming and attacking your garden. So for that reason, you have to experiment yourself for the first time. So you should get something like 4 grow bags or something, and start with uh, chilies, tomatoes, and such things. So here are the pictures of grow bags. You can grow, not only use grow bags, pots, you can also use old buckets, broken buckets with holes. You make sure that they have drainage hole. And we also need to have a good quality of potting medium. You should add a lot of compost to it with some red soil and coco peat. That would be fine. And you will also require a lot of plants for starting your garden. The best plants would be roses. Roses are really hardy plants. Many fail to grow it. I don't know why, but it is really simple to grow. If you have a good quality soil and a good amount of sunlight, it would grow really easily. And for seeds, you will require a lot of seeds to start a garden, but you need not buy them for the first time. You can just get the seeds from your kitchen. Like, you can harvest the seeds from the tomatoes in your kitchen. You can just get the seeds of chilies from the dry chilies. You can grow methi from fenugreek, which is there in your kitchen. You can grow mustard greens, and you can also grow mint from the cuttings which you use for cooking. So those stems can be fixed in soil and it would grow. So which plants to start with? The best plants are tomatoes, brinjal, lady's finger, flowers, and greens. Greens are the most important things like amaranth, palak greens, beetroot greens, any greens, whichever you get, you can grow them because they are easy to start with, and greens can survive in cold temperature as well as in very hot climatic regions. So that's better if you start with amaranth or mint or basil and such plants. Next, let's see why is it important to grow more flowers in gardening. Flowers are also very important aspect of a garden because flowers have the tendency to attract a lot of pollinators to your garden. This will ensure that the pollination happens in your vegetable plants, and in turn you will get rid of a lot of wastage in flowers. So all the flowers will turn into fruits or vegetables. And some plants like chrysanthemum deter pests. If you plant a chrysanthemum near a tomato plant, they will get rid of leaf miners and whiteflies. Those kind of pests will also be prevented if we plant chrysanthemum, marigold, and such plants. So these plants really have a uh, good it will be a good plant to start with. And chrysanthemum, sunflowers, roses, these are all so colorful, so you can start with those kind of flowers. So let's see how to start seeds. Basically, you can directly sow the seeds. Some of the seeds need to be directly sown in the soil, and some need to be sown in small pots and transplanted. So seeds like bitter gourd, bottle gourd, bitter melon, lady's finger, uh, peas, beans, these seeds are really large in size. So these seeds must be directly sown in the place. Whereas plants like tomatoes and chilies, brinjal, basil, and plants like petunias, they really have a very small, tiny seeds. So those seeds must be sown in small containers or in a sealing tray. And then it has to be grown till a height. At least for 30 to 40 days, it should be grown in those containers. According to the size of your small container, you should accommodate the seedlings. After 40 days, you can transplant them into your large container. And there is also one more method known as paper towel method. In this method, you can just sow every seed, but the reason for doing this is a lot of seeds will germinate. The germination rate of the seeds will be maximum in it. So that is the reason why we use a paper towel method. So if you take a tissue paper and arrange seeds as shown in the picture and close it, spray water, keep it inside a Ziploc bag or in an airtight container, and keep it uh, in a space where it gets minimum light, like in a windowsill or somewhere. In those kind of places, the light won't fall directly. So, but it will require minimum light. You should not keep it in complete darkness, or else it will just become sprouts. So if it needs greenish color so to grow into a plant. So for that, you should place it before sunlight in a windowsill. And you can also soak some seeds before germinating or transplanting. So seeds like cilantro, which is known as coriander in general English. So coriander seeds have a hard layer around its seeds. So these seeds need to be soaked in water before sowing. And seeds like lady's finger also can be soaked in water because lady's finger seeds have a thick coating of skin over it. It is actually thin, but it is hard in nature, so that can be soaked for about 4 hours. Cilantro or coriander seeds can be soaked for about 6 hours or 8 hours, and um, This bottle gourd seeds, bitter gourd seeds also have a hard shell case over its seeds. So those shells has to be soaked in the water so that the plants can germinate faster. So next, let's see about how to take care of watering plants. So watering plants is one of the most common mistakes everybody do when they enter into gardening. Everybody thinks that if we water more, the plants will grow more, but actually not. It will only result in death of the plant. So you should not water much. The best method of watering is the finger dip method. So for that, you need to keep your finger into the soil, and if the soil is not sticking onto your hand, in the next slide you can see that the soil is not sticking. So if it is not sticking, the soil is dry. If you need to at least leave your finger into the soil at least 2 inches deep, so that the soil, you can check the soil is moist or not. So if it is sticky like this, then it means it has enough moisture. If it is not sticky, if the finger comes out cleanly, that means the plants can need water. So you need to add water. Next, let's see about sunlight requirement. Different kinds of plants will require different amount of sunlight. Each plant is unique, so their habitat is different. So for that reason, you need to give different amount of sunlight for different plants. First, let's see about direct sunlight. Direct sunlight is nothing but 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight. If you can feel the heat of the sun in that place, and if it is too bright, that place is the best area for plants like tomatoes, roses, brinjal, chili, guava, ladyfinger, and many other fruits like strawberries. They also love a lot of sun, and many flowering and fruiting plants will require direct sunlight. Whereas some herbs, seedlings, mainly when you start seeds, you should just place them in shade. Those plants are known as shade loving plants. We should keep them under 3 to 4 hours of direct sunlight. So many greens like palak, methi, and lettuce, these kind of plants should be kept in shade. Now let's see about semi-shade plants. These plants will require about 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight. So you can see the images of carrots, radishes, cherry tomatoes, mulberries, blueberries, cabbage, cauliflower, even beans, hyacinth beans, amaranth. All these kind of plants can be grown in semi-shade. So these plants would love to grow in an area where they get 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight. So now let's see about insect control, which is a very hard thing because every plant will get insects from the seedling stage itself. Many plants will get insect attack because plants like tomato, brinjal, and ladyfinger, they have really tender leaves when they are seedlings. So those leaves are eaten by caterpillars of many insects. They will love to eat those tender leaves. So you need to protect your plants from the beginning itself. So if you see an insect attack on your plant, what you need to do is you need to remove the insect manually first. You can use the gloves if you feel weird, but make sure you remove it. You should at least cut and throw off the leaves or branches affected by those insects at first. If you didn't remove them, then they will be attacking again and again because organic pesticides are not so powerful. They will not kill every insect within a single use. So you need to kill it by hands at first. You need to throw it away from your garden, and you can spray any sort of organic pesticides. So I would say I would recommend neem oil, which is one of the best organic pesticide available. It is an universal pesticide. It would kill about anything. You can. It is also a fungicide as well. It is a fungicide as well, and it would also prevent from many insects like mealybugs, aphids, spider mites, whiteflies, leaf miners, and a lot of insects can be controlled by this leaf miner. You can also use eucalyptus oil. You can also use the eucalyptus oil, which is also a good pesticide. The next thing is you can also use clove oil. And the next image you can see ginger, garlic, and chili. You can that is one of the best homemade remedies for many soft-bodied insects like mealybugs and aphids. Their skin cannot handle these kind of heat. So what you need to do is take some chilies in equal proportion. So take some chilies, ginger, and garlic in equal proportion. Grind it with some water into a paste and filter the liquid out with some muslin cloth or a filter, whatever you have in hand. That water can be mixed with 3 times of plain water. So if you have the liquid 1 part, you should add 3 parts of plain water and just spray on the soft-bodied insects like aphids and mealybugs. That would prevent as well as protect, and it will also kill those kind of insects. Now let's see about biopesticides. There are also many kinds of uh, bacteria and fungi which can kill the insects. So the first one you see is known as Bavaria. It is a very beautiful parasite which kills the other insects. So it is available online and in many stores, so you can get it. It would be of the in powder form. You can add about 5 grams to 10 grams in 1 liter of water and spray on the infected plants for about 2 days. What happens is it is a parasite. It will kill the insects by growing on it and feeding on it. And there is something known as pseudomonas, which is seen in the second picture, which is pink in color as shown in the picture. So that is a good bacteria which can be added into your soil. It is also available in powder form in many organic stores. So you can get that and you can add it in your soil mix so that the bacteria grows in your soil and it would prevent from any sort of soil borne diseases. Next, let's see about which fertilizers to use. There are a lot of fertilizers to use commercially as well as we can make many things at home organically. So the first thing you see is the vermicompost, and the second thing is eggshell powder. These are all really rich in many nutrients. Plants mainly require nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which is mostly there in the compost. And eggshells are rich in calcium. So that calcium will help the plants from any sort of flowering issues. So sometimes the flowers will fall before fruiting, so they won't become into a large fruit. So for those kind of problems, you can use eggshells. You should mix eggshell in the soil before itself. While growing your seedling itself, you should mix eggshell powder because eggshell is a really slow release fertilizer. So what happens is they cannot be easily available for your plant. So for that reason, you should give those eggshells slowly and at the beginning stage so that it would release into the soil slowly. The calcium will be released when we add water daily and it would reach your plant. And what you're seeing is seaweed fertilizer and Epsom salt. Seaweed fertilizer is also a multi-purpose fertilizer. It has many nutrients mixed in it. It is organic. It looks like a chemical, but it is actually organic. And uh, you can see Epsom salt. This is rich in magnesium and sulfur that are secondary nutrients. So if you mix magnesium and sulfur, that is magnesium sulfate and water, the plants will get all plants of all sort of flowering issues will be reduced because those kind of magnesium and sulfur help in colorful flowering. So if your flowers are lighter in color than usual, that means they are less or deficient of magnesium. And even if your leaf color are not good, if it is lighter in color than usual, that also means magnesium deficiency. So at those kind of times, you can use magnesium sulfate, which is nothing but Epsom salt. So as I was telling about fertilizers, I wish to show you something in my garden. I'll turn on the video, you just click on it and watch it. So now we are going to see about composting. Homemade composts are the best sources of nutrients. So I have cabbage waste which was used 2 days before, and that's the waste cabbage. And these are dry leaves which I collected from the road. So this will make the nitrogen part of the compost. So you need to have 50% nitrogen and 50% carbon, equal in ratio. So you can use anything like eggshells, you can use tomato scraps, banana peels, you can use any vegetable scraps which is moist. It should have the water content. So that is known as the green material. And dry materials can be paper, cardboard, dry leaves, stems, sticks, twigs, anything can be used for that purpose. So what you are going to do is you're going to add the green material into a pot. You can use a pot, you can use a bucket with many holes. Make sure it has a lot of holes. You are also going to add dry leaf. Make sure the dry leaves, if you are compressing, it should be equal, because when it is open, it would look as if it is full, but actually it is not. So for that reason, you should make sure it is full, and you should mix it thoroughly. So while mixing, what happens, you should try to crush the green materials with the fork or something, and just sprinkle some water on top, because the leaves are dry. And make sure you don't add lot of green materials. It should be in equal ratio or a little bit extra of brown material. If you add too much of green material, then what happens is it will really stink like drainage. So that's one problem. But if you add a lot of brown material, what happens is all the smell will be gone. It would really smell like heaven, like uh, the mud. When it rains, the soil smell would be nice. Many people would love that smell. I like that smell, and that smell would come from this if you add more brown materials, that is dry leaves or something. But if you add more green, it would stink. So for that reason, you can use more brown materials, but make sure at least 40% green materials is there in it. And you should not always add too much of brown materials. If 80% is brown material, then what happens is uh, they it will take long time to decompose. That is also one problem. So for that reason, make sure it is in 50-50 ratio. Next, let's see about fertilizing the plants. So for fertilizing the plants, I told there are many nutrients required. Also require a lot of nutrients. So for that reason, what you need to do is you need to add a lot of fertilizers into your soil. You need to add a lot of compost in the soil, or you can add cow dung manure, horse manure, whatever you have in the soil. The soil will have all the nutrients. So for that reason, you should add a lot of nutrients into the soil. Now let's see about some tips and tricks. So the first tip I would give is for summer gardening. You can add a layer of dry leaves on the top of your soil. You can also use eggshells. You can use any old woody stems, cuttings, anything, waste onion skins on top of the soil. This prevents from the excess moisture loss during summer. The plants will really get a lot of nutrients from the from this thing. So the moisture will be always present in the soil if you keep a layer of leaves or rocks. You can also use pebbles, you can also use old tiles, whatever you have with yourself you can use on top of the soil. Next, let's see about pruning. Pruning is one of the important steps you need to take care during your plant growth, because we are growing our plants in a space which is really small. We are going to grow our plants in containers. Usually plants will be grown on ground where their roots can run anywhere throughout the space which is available, and they can get a lot of nutrients. But as we have limited the space inside a container, what happens is they can't get many nutrients. So for getting a lot of harvest, what we are going to do is we should cut the the suckers. Suckers are nothing but the side branches. In the first picture you can see small node, from the nodes small branches are emerging. Those branches must not be left on the plants, so those branches must be cut off, and you should grow your plant straight and vertically. If you do like that, what happens is all the nutrients will be concentrated on the main stem, and in the main stem you will get a lot of harvest. All the size of the fruits will be large, and the color of the fruits will be good. So for that reason, you should grow them straight. Now I'll turn on my video and show you how to prune the plants. This is this is the tomato plant. You can see here is the main branch. It is growing straight actually, and at this point it is separating. In the leaf node a small branch is growing, so you have to pluck this part away and you should grow it straight again. So this will make sure the nutrient is getting inside, and this is actually a vine type of tomato. It will grow really large, so for that reason I'm pruning it. If it is a normal tomato you need not prune, but if it is like this you can prune. Even if it is normal tomato, if you prune, the harvest will be doubled. That's the reason why we are going to do something like this. Next, let's see about supporting your plants. Your plants will require like vining plants like bitter melon, watermelon, and tomatoes. As I said, this is a vine tomato. As this it is said, it is vine tomato. The tomatoes will fall if it is in full bloom and in full fruiting stage. What happens is they cannot bear the weight on the plant, so we should give some sort of support in the side. You should uh, you should leave the you should give the plants some support, some sort of support. As here I'm showing the video, you should give some grill or some sort of support must be done. You can also use any sticks for that purpose, because the stem or the tomato stem is really thin. You can see when there are a lot of tomatoes hanging from it, what happens is the plant will gradually fall down, and when it falls down it would touch the soil. When it touches the soil, it would decompose faster. So for that reason, just give you should grow it straight on with the help of some support. You can also use wooden sticks, or you can also buy trellises from any store, garden store, and grow it. And this is a beans plant. This also needs some support. For that reason, it is vining on this metal handle and it is growing. Next, also I am going to tell you about a fertilizer. I'll share how to make it and how to use it now. So this is green leaves of amaranth plant. You can see it is known as Totakura in Telugu, and in Tamil it is known as Araikirai. I don't know in other languages. So it is known as amaranth in English. So you need to have those kind of plants. You can get weeds as well. If some plants are growing on roads, it would grow faster and will bloom within 1 month. So those kind of plants can be uh, picked up by you, and they should be made into small pieces, and you can add it into a bowl like this. So with this, what you're going to do is add some sugar. You can use any kind of sugar. The traditional way for doing this is by using jaggery. So they use jaggery with this, equal amount of sugar with equal amount of the greens or any plant. You can also use moringa leaves. You can also use any pruned leaves as well. You should mix the sugar with the plant. You should just crush it so that the juices from the leaves come out. Make sure the leaves are fresh and not dry, because dry leaves won't work for this process. So what you're going to do is you can just mix it like this. So after 14 or 15 days, what happens is it will release many juices. Keep it in an airtight container. Yeast will eat the sugar and the juices from the leaves will be coming out. So what happens is the plant won't get any sort of so that the plants will get many nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, and there are many hormones present in it, as we have taken this plant in the flowering stage. So what happens, it will have flowering hormones present in it. So what you are going to do is you have to leave it for 15 days. So it will give out juices like this. It will look like this. You have to filter it with a old cloth, muslin cloth, or a filter, whatever you have. And this can be used like just 1 teaspoon. Half a teaspoon will be enough for 1 liter of water, because this is really concentrated. So half a teaspoon will be enough. What you can do is just add it in your garden soil. This is really a great way of adding nutrients into your soil from waste materials like weeds or any old stems of amaranth, mint, whatever you have. You can use those kind of greens and make this material. Now let me share you how to give fertilizers to your plants. If you have a plant like this in your soil, make sure you just dig a hole on the sides of a plant, not directly on the roots, and add that fertilizer. I am using eggshells. Make sure you add it, mix it well in the soil. This will prevent the plants from any sort of, I'm using eggshells now, so ants will come if you use eggshells. So if you dig it deep, that problem will be controlled. And when you dig, the roots will be promoted for their growth. So while you dig the soil, a bit of roots will be cut, and it is a kind of pruning in plants. It is root pruning will occur, so the plants can grow and branch out well. The roots will also branch out, and it will take the nutrients better in a better way. And you can also mix the soil once a week like this. Just when, not only when you add fertilizers, but generally if you mix the soil, what happens is the aeration will happen on the soil. This will help the plants to get lot of oxygen directly through the roots, and the bacteria, fungus present in the good microbes present in the soil will also get some oxygen, and the roots will also get oxygen directly. Next tip I missed to give is you can use something like a seedling label for your plants. You can name the seedling and you can add the date of the seeds, and you can also keep label the company's name which seed you got, so that if the seedlings doesn't grow, then you can find that this brand is not good or something like that. And if the seeds are growing, whether if they are in the correct growth stage, we can find that within 30 days they will look this height. So it should be done in the correct, it should grow in the correct size. So make sure you label it and put the date. If this is the plant, this is about 45 days old, so that means this is in the correct stage of growth. If you see a brinjal which is about very tall, you would have labeled it, and if it is still not blooming, then the problem is with the seeds and not with your process. With the seeds, the problem is there. If the time within the time the seeds are not growing, then the seed is unfertile or the plant won't uh, do well in gardening. So that's all about the tips and tricks. Now let's see the questions. So one person have asked about compost bin. In that, many times he is getting worms, it seems. If you add a lot of dry material, that is neem leaves or any leaf available, you should add a lot of green material. You should add a lot of dry material than green material. If the green material is more, then there's the chance of many flies coming, and it would stink. As I said, as it stings, many flies would be attracted towards it and it would lay eggs in there, and there's a chance of larva. So what you need to do is you need to add a lot of brown materials into the compost bin and not green material. You should never ever try to add more green material, like any waste scraps which is wet must not be added more. And you should also make sure that the compost bin is closed, or else there is chance of those flies coming and sitting on it and laying eggs. So if it is closed, then what happens is there's no chance of those flies coming and making them into a larva. Let's see the next question. How to save chrysanthemum plants in summer. So chrysanthemum plants are one of the best winter plants to grow. During summer, what you need to do is you should save those plants. So for that, you should prune it till the base of the plant. You should cut it, and you should place it in a shady area. You should not keep it in sunlight. You should keep it in full shade, and just indirect sunlight must fall on it. You should keep your plant in such a place, and after some time in the year, when it is season, again, if the temperature is back to normal for its growth, it would start to grow. It will look like it is dead when you prune and leave it aside. It won't get a lot of blooms from it after you prune it in summer, but it will look like it is dead. But you should keep it aside. When the temperature is back from the root, the plants will grow and it would come back to its normal condition. What can you tell how to grow cucumber? Would it need full sunlight or shady will do? I want to grow in my balcony with shady light. Is it possible? Actually, vegetables like watermelon, bitter melon, cucumber, everything are summer plants. They can even tolerate heavy temperatures, as well as they will require a lot of sun. So for growing cucumber, at least you should give 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight. If it is possible, you can grow cucumber in balcony. If it is not, if your balcony is completely shade, you cannot grow cucumber. What is the difference between pruning and pinching? Pinching is also a kind of pruning. It is not a big different thing. Pruning is, there are many kinds of pruning: hard pruning, soft pruning, root pruning. So hard pruning is nothing but, as I said, for chrysanthemum, you should cut till the base and leave it, and it would grow for the next season. That is known as hard pruning. Whereas soft pruning is when you want to harvest the roses from your plants. So you should not only cut the flower from the plant, you should also take 4 to 5 sets of leaf from the plant. So at that point only you should cut the flower and take. So that is known as soft pruning. And pinching is just if there are suckers growing here and there, that is known as pinching. And even in chili plants love to grow bushier, and if it is bushier only, there's chance of more growth. So for that reason, you should always pinch the tip of the chili plant. In the tip of the chili plant, if you pinch, what happens is it would uh, branch out more. And for chilies, usually they have really a small root system than tomatoes and brinjal, so you can grow them without cutting the suckers. So you should just pinch the tip of the plant, and what it happens is it would directly give out many branches. Then the plants will have many, when the plant has many branches, there is chance of many flower, and the many flowers will turn into many fruits. So the harvest will also be increased by pinching, pruning, and such things. Can we put dried flowers for compost? Yes, you can put dried flowers for compost. You should take it into account as brown material like dry leaf or paper or cardboard. So that is the thing you need to keep in mind when you add dried flowers. But when you add flowers which is decomposed or fresh flowers, then those kind of flowers is known as green material. But when it is dry, it is known as brown material. What soil should be used for growing food? So the soil mix should have equal parts of coco peat, red soil, and compost. You can also add many materials like uh, eggshells, eggshell powder, bone meal into it, which would help in the flowering stage of the plant. So you should always add these kind of materials at the start itself. If you don't have anything, just add coco peat, red soil, and compost, which is homemade or bought from store, whatever it is. Mix these three things in equal quantity and the plant will grow really well. Is there a chance of ants if we add sugar to amaranthus? No. After 15 days, what happens is the yeast will eat the sugar and it will convert the whole solution into alcohol. So what happens is it will become an alcoholic solution which won't be attracted by ants. So you can use sugar in this. The main concept of this itself, you should use sugar for fermentation process. So you should use sugar, jaggery, or brown sugar, palm sugar, whatever kind of sugary substance, sweet substance you have, you can add to that amaranth for making the chohan cube fruit plant fermented liquid. Kitchen waste, how to use to make compost? As I said earlier, you can use any green material which can be the tomatoes heads, ladies fingers, that back part. You can use that. You can use the stems of amaranth or anything. You can use any wet. You can also use cooked food which is not used or it is wasted. You can use that into composting, but and you should add equal amount of dry material to it, mix it, and make sure the container you use has a lot of holes in it so that it can breathe. And you can also add worms if you have some in your garden. If you have earthworms, you can add that into the compost bin, then it will become wormy compost. If not, it will become plain compost.
So here also you need to have a dry content more, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
same as composting.
Okay. Thank you.
Next question is potting soil ratio for snake plant. The soil medium which I told is an universal soil medium. You can use it for anything except desert plants like uh, cactus, we would love to grow them in a home. We would love aloe vera. We will also grow some sort of succulents. So those kind of plants will require a bit of sand in its soil. River sand can be added. You can also add gravel into it, and you can also add wood chips, wood sawdust to it. These all will help in drainage, and the water content inside it won't last long. And those kind of habitat only plants like snake plant also loves that kind of soil actually, because it is also a desert plant. It is relative of aloe vera, so you can use the cacti medium. As I told, you can add a bit of sand into the universal potting mix, and you can also add gravel. Small rock pieces can be added into it. My tulsi is just growing tall. It doesn't have good leaves. Does it also need to be pruned? If yes, how? Yes, if it is growing just straight and if it is not branching, you need to cut the tip. So you have to pinch it. As I told, if you cut the top of the plant, it would induce branching. Make sure you give a lot of fertilizers because you're telling your leaves are not looking good. So this is a sign of deficiency of nitrogen. So you can give vermicompost or any kind of nitrogen rich fertilizer would do good for leaf growth. Potting soil for cutting propagation. For that you can use, you can use the cactus medium for that also, but you should not use gravel or something, but you should use sand into it with the universal potting mix. 20% sand would be good, because if for cuttings, what happens is if the moisture is excess, then the cuttings will decay. So for that reason, if we add sand into the mix, then there will be good drainage. How to prepare a good roadside nursery gives only the black soil mitti. As I told already, lemon also we need to prune. Yes, lemon is actually a big tree, so for growing it in container, you should surely prune it, or else what happens is it won't do well in small containers. If you're growing in small containers, then what you need to do is you can prune it, and you should also prune the roots 2 years once or 3 years once. Just take the plant out of the pot and cut the roots, the smallest roots, not the main root. You should not cut the main root. You should just cut the roots, edges of the roots, and you can take out some of the soil from that already uh, fixed soil. You should just remove the outer part of that soil, and you should place it into a bigger container than before, which in it was already planted. So you should plant it inside a bigger container, and what happens is the plant can get excess space if it is in small space, and that new soil will nourish its growth. So for any fruits like lemon, not only for lemon, mosambi, orange, uh, pomegranate, guava, these kind of plants need to be root pruned once in 2 years. Does periwinkle need pinching on the tips to make it bushy? Usually it does grow bushy if you grow properly, because periwinkle is a small shrub, so it will generally grow into a bushy plant. If you want it to be more bushier than what it is right now, you can pinch the tips. Can we add any neem leaves to sugar hibiscus plant? Is having white bugs. Can I prevent it? That white bug is known as mealy bug. So for that, you can use neem oil. Neem oil is better. Or as I said, you can also use ginger garlic paste with some chili paste. That juice must be extracted from it with the cloth. You have to filter it, and that water, one part with 3 parts of plain water, should be sprayed on plants. These kind of white mealy bugs would go for simple recipe itself. And make sure you clean it with your hand before you spray it, because you cannot take everything in the first time itself, but make sure you try to remove most of the insects. If you have a lot of attack on your garden, then what you need to do is you should prune the branch which is completely affected. My jasmine is not flowering. What should I do? It may be lacking phosphorus, or potassium. So for that you can give banana peel fertilizer. We can make banana peels into compost by the composting method, or you can just soak some banana peels in water, and the nutrients in the banana will get inside the water, and that water is really good for flowering plants. So you can give such fertilizers for your plants. Not only fertilizers, you would have kept your jasmine in a shady area. So in that times also the plant won't grow really well. So make sure it gets 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight. It loves a really good heat. Jasmine is one of the plants which will require a lot of heat. What to do for spider mites attacks on marigold? Spider mites also need to be cut first. If those mites are seen on the branches or on the flowers, just cut the branch, and you can use any kind of, you can also use Bavaria is a biopesticide that is one of the most strongest pesticide available organically, Bavaria, and there are pseudomonas. So these kind of pesticides can be sprayed. Wherever you get it, there will be, according to the concentration of that bacteria, they would have given how much to mix with the water. So wherever you get it, please do ask the shop owner how much to mix it with the water and spray it on the plant. So those kind of pesticides will work well for spider mites, because spider mites are not easy to kill. First, try to remove it by hands, add neem oil spray, and do any kind of organic pesticides as I told earlier. And if not, use Bavaria, because spider mites would terribly infect your garden. Your full garden may also get infected by spider mites. Can lavender grow from seeds well in Indian climate? It is a Mediterranean plant. Yes, you can grow lavender, but make sure you grow it in a proper climate. During summer in India, it is really very hot, so it won't grow in summer. But other than summer, even in winter, it can grow. Uh, the reason why lavender is not a winter crop is in foreign countries, it would be so frosty during winter. So they say it is not a winter crop and it is as a summer crop. But for us in India, the summer is so hot. So uh, without we should not grow only in summer. Other than that, we can grow throughout the year. So for good growth, compost is the better thing, because compost will have all kind of major nutrients. So you can add compost for good growth. How to manage water supply to plants for more than 2 days if we went for outer station? For more than 2 days, nothing would happen really to your plants. You can just leave it and go. While going for 2 days, make sure you overwater and go, so that at least from the downside of the pot there will be water, some water. Actually, you need not water your plants daily. Only 3 days once or 2 days once is required. Only if you keep it in terrace, the sun would come directly and fall on your plants. Only in such cases, if it is too hot, then only you should water daily. Or else you need not water daily if it is shady, or if the climate is good. You can just water 2 to 3 days once. That would be enough. And in summer, you can also water twice a day, because it will be so hot in morning as well as evening. And I would love to give a watering tip. You should never water your plants in afternoon, because the soil will be already hot. If you pour the water, then the hot water will be absorbed by the plants, and the plants will die immediately. It would react to that heat immediately. As the heat will enter into the roots, into the body, with the heat, the plants will die. So you should never ever water your plants in afternoon sunny time. You should always water your plants early in the morning or late in the evening. And in winter, you should never water your plants in evening. Then it will cause fungal infections. And while watering, you should also not water on leaves. That will also cause fungal infections. Just pour the water in the roots. I always have tough time with coriander and spinach. Please guide. Coriander is one of the seeds which is very tough to grow actually. The seeds are really having a good coating over it. It is really hard on its stem. So what happens is you should soak the seeds in water. If you soak the seeds in water, the germination rate of coriander will be better. And you should always try to get the seeds from a organic seed store or somewhere else, but not from the grocery store, because in grocery stores the coriander seeds will be kept for years. If it is kept for years, what happens is the viability of the seeds will be gone, it won't grow. So for that reason you should always buy seeds from a seed store, or if you know that the seed you bought from an grocery store is, if it is fresh, you can use it. And spinach also is one of the easy to grow plants. Make sure you spray water and not pour water. And I don't know what kind of problem you have in your spinach. Please do detailedly tell what kind of problem you have. I'll explain how to take care of that common problem.
Yeah,
Generally
I can
spinach is
just tell
also.
you. I can just tell you here, like I tried growing them in a bag, and then they just grow to a height and they fall off. So, how do I maintain them, keep growing into it?
So for that, the reason for that is it is known as elongation of seeds will happen when the space is not well lit. You should always make sure to keep the plants in a good sunlight. At least 3 to 4 hours of direct sunlight must be kept for your plants. Then only the plants will grow. If it is completely shady, then what happens is the seed would elongate and it would fall off. That's the main reason for it.
Okay, thank you.
Easy ways to grow photos and soil mix. So money plants are can be grown from cuttings easily. You can just get a cutting from your neighbor or from a garden center if they give, and just put it in a glass of water. After a week or so, you can see small roots coming out. So for that, you can use the universal potting mix itself. 1 part coco peat, 1 part compost, and 1 part red soil. Just keep that cutting into it, and it would really grow into a beautiful plant. Actually, I have seen many people keeping the photos, that is money plants, in completely dark space inside their homes. But actually, money plants will require at least a bright spot. They don't require direct sunlight much, they will require indirect sunlight, but place it in a bright spot near a balcony or a windowsill where they get the maximum sun, where they can get at least 1 to 2 hours of sunlight. That would be enough. But you should not keep it completely in a dark space, then it won't grow and it would be stunted. Can we grind onion and banana peels and other vegetable waste and add to plants as compost? Actually, this is a myth. Plants can take banana peels, onion, and vegetable scraps directly. You can even if you grind it, what happens is you are just breaking it down into smaller particles and not into the plant will require them in nitrogen form, in phosphorus form, in they require in a more edible form. We want our food to be cooked, right? In the same way, plants also need it to be cooked for them to eat it. So for that, the vegetable waste must be composted and it should be made into the edible way of plants, so that the nutrients will in it will be released. If you directly add banana peels or any kind of nutrients, what happens is the nutrients won't get into the soil immediately. It will take around 1 month or so to get inside. So you should always make it into compost and add it. And there is also an adverse effect of using such waste directly into the soil. The main wrong thing which is done by many people, by seeing many YouTube channels, I have seen many people considering this as a compost, but this will really not work well. So for that, what happens is it would cause fungal infections on plant. This is also what we are growing is also a plant, and what we added is also a plant part. So while it decomposes, it may also eat up the plant, and it may also kill the plant, and it will affect the plant as well. It would get some sort of fungal diseases. So for that reason, you should never grind and pour vegetable scraps. How to control aphids? Aphids are also similar to mealybugs, but they are smaller in size, and they will attack in very large groups. For that reason, also you should just cut off, and you should always keep it in mind. Organic pesticides are not as uh, strong as chemical pesticides. So within single use, they won't go. So for that reason, you should always remove the pests manually by your hands. You should take time daily for at least a half an hour must be taken by you for checking for pests daily. Just check the underside of leaves and the part which is under, which is the down, the part under the plants. If it is a bushy plant, check in the downside. There only many pests will be there. Check it, remove it immediately, and spray organic pesticides. As I mentioned in the video, that there are many organic pesticides. You can spray anything. Neem oil is also a good organic pesticide. When you spray neem oil, make sure you spray it from the seedling stage. When the seedling is about 30 days itself, you should start spraying neem oil. 5 ml of neem oil in 1 liter of water and spray it. That is as a preventive measure. And if you add 10 ml of neem oil in 1 liter of water and spray it, that is for killing the insect. Fertilize difference between fertilizer and compost. Compost is a fertilizer, but all fertilizers are not compost. It's a simple thing. Compost is made from vegetable scraps. Plant biodegradable scraps are made into compost, and eggshells are also fertilizer, but it is not a compost. Compost is degraded vegetable waste and biodegradable materials, which is degraded, is known as compost. Eggshells, magnesium sulfate, and other kind of plant food are known as fertilizer. Even chemically given nutrients are also known as fertilizer. Compost is also a kind of fertilizer. Do bamboo plants need soil, or we can keep it in water all throughout? If water, then how often to change? Actually, those lucky bamboo must be kept in soil. If it is kept in soil, the plant would really grow well. Even if it is kept in water, it won't grow really well. The water won't have enough nutrient for growing the plant, so you can grow the lucky bamboo in soil. Does carrot plants can survive in summer? Never. You can grow carrots in summer, but you will only end up getting the leaves and not the root. The roots won't form in summer, and most of the time the seeds itself won't germinate in hot summer. So what you can do is you can better grow carrots in winter season and not in summer. But if you wish to eat carrot greens are also edible. It would make a tasty meal. Uh, there are many recipes for making carrot greens as well. So for that reason, you can grow carrot seeds in summer. But in winter only, they store the food for themselves during winter season. When it is frosty, what happens is they should survive for the next year. So for that reason, they store the energy in roots as carrots. So for getting carrots, you should always grow in winter. Any other questions? Thank you, everybody. I have a YouTube channel. I would be posting videos practically over there. I'll try to post many videos in the channel Gardener the Young. So check it in that. For a beginner gardener, I told many things about growing plants. So I want to clear all your doubts in this session. That's what happened in this.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, everyone, for joining the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Let's leave.